For 41 years, Daniel lived with one question that haunted him every single night. Why did my mother walk away when I was only 2 years old? Everyone around him, from his uncle to the few distant relatives he knew, kept repeating the same heartbreaking line. She left because she didn't want a child. It was a simple, brutal explanation that shaped his entire life. He grew up believing he was unwanted, a burden his own mother chose to leave behind. But deep inside, a tiny voice always whispered that something was wrong. Moms don't just vanish. Not like Tat. Not without a trace. Not without a reason he could ever understand. He'd see other kids with their mothers at the park, their hands held tightly, and a hollow ache would echo in his chest. It wasn't just sadness. It was a profound sense of wrongness, like a puzzle piece jammed into the wrong spot. Then, on his 41st birthday, everything changed. While cleaning out the attic of his childhood home, a place he hadn't ventured into for years, his hand brushed against a dusty, forgotten cardboard box tucked away under a pile of old blankets. It was a small, unassuming box, the kind you'd store old report cards in. He didn't even know it existed. Curiosity got the better of him. He pried open the lid, expecting to find old toys or baby clothes. Inside, nestled among yellowed newspaper clippings, was a single Polaroid photo, his breath caught in his throat. It was her, his mother. She was holding him, a tiny 2-year-old version of himself. Wrapped snugly in her arms, he stared at her face. A face he'd only ever seen in one other faded picture. But this was different. Her eyes weren't filled with indifference or coldness. They were wide and full of a raw, unmistakable fear. It wasn't the look of rejection. It was the look of someone cornered. He turned the photo over, his fingers trembling slightly. On the back, in faded blue ink, was a smudged, handwritten message. It read, "If you find this someday, know that I never wanted to leave." That single line, those few simple words, shattered the foundation of his entire life. The story he had been told for 4 decades was a lie, a cruel, calculated lie. Who lied to him, and why? And then he saw it. Below the message, the rest of the paper was violently scratched out. Deep, angry gouges in the cardboard, as if someone had taken a key or a knife and scraped away the truth, determined to make it unreadable. Someone didn't want the rest of that message to survive. With the photo clutched in his hand, Daniel felt a fire ignite inside him, a determination he hadn't felt in years. He had to know the truth. His first stop was the man who raised him, the man who had fed him the story of his abandonment, his Uncle Robert. Daniel drove to his uncle's house, his heart pounding against his ribs. He found Robert tending to his garden, just like any other Sunday. He looked up, a warm smile on his face. But the smile vanished the moment he saw the look in Daniel's eyes. Without a word, Daniel held out the Polaroid. Robert froze. The color drained from his face, and his hands, stained with soil, began to shake. He stared at the picture as if he were seeing a ghost, and then he whispered something so faint, Daniel could barely hear it. "I hoped you would never find this." "Why, Robert? Why did you lie to me?" Daniel's voice was tight with 40 years of suppressed pain. "Where is she?" But Robert just shook his head, his eyes darting around nervously. He backed away, toward his front door, fumbling for the handle. Some things are better left buried. "Daniel, you don't know what you're getting into." Before Daniel could press him further, Robert slipped inside and shut the door. But just before it clicked shut, he added one last, cryptic sentence that would send Daniel's world spinning even further. "If you really want the truth, find the woman in the photo who isn't your mother." A woman in the photo? What did that mean? Confused and frustrated, Daniel stormed back to his car. He slumped into the driver's seat and stared at the picture again, his eyes scanning every inch of it under the car's dome light. His mother, himself as a toddler. And then he saw it. For the very first time, he noticed something in the background, a detail he had completely missed in his initial shock. Partially hidden in the deep shadows behind his mother, there was a figure. The faint outline of a person, barely visible. It was the silhouette of another woman, standing just out of the light, her form obscured but her presence undeniable. She was watching them. Who was this woman? Why was she hiding in the shadows? Was she a friend? An enemy? And what secret had she been hiding for 41 years? This wasn't just about finding his mother anymore. This was about uncovering a conspiracy that had started the day he was born. The photo wasn't just a clue, it was a map, and the mysterious woman in the shadows was the first stop on a journey into a past someone had tried very hard to erase. And Daniel was determined to follow it, no matter where it led. Daniel discovered someone else was there the day his mother disappeared. But no one ever told him why. He stared at the old family photograph, his finger tracing a ghostly figure in the background. He zoomed in, trying to sharpen the faded silhouette of a woman standing just behind his family, almost like she was watching over them. This couldn't be a coincidence. It had to be connected to his mother's vanishing act, all those years ago. Driven by a sudden, desperate need for answers, Daniel drove back to the old neighborhood, the place where he was born. The houses had changed. Some were renovated, others were gone, replaced by modern structures, but one thing hadn't changed at all. The memories. People still remembered the day his mother vanished without a trace. An elderly neighbor, her face a road map of wrinkles, was the first to speak. Her voice was raspy with age. "I always thought you knew," she said, her eyes filled with a mixture of pity and surprise. "Your mother? She didn't just leave, she was taken." Taken. The word echoed in Daniel's mind, "Tucken be wom," and for what reason? The old woman then pointed a shaky finger at the photograph Daniel was holding. She tapped the glass, right over the mysterious silhouette. "That woman," she said. "She lived next door to you. I remember her. She tried to warn your mother that something terrible was about to happen." Daniva couldn't recall her name, but one detail stuck out in her memory. The woman always wore the same distinctive blue scarf, no matter the weather. Armed with this new clue, Daniel dove into local records, city archives, anything he could find. He spent days sifting through dusty documents and and then, after 41 long years of silence, he found her. Margaret Collins. According to the records, she was 87 years old and currently residing in a nursing home on the other side of the state. When Daniel finally walked into her room, Margaret looked up, and a wave of recognition washed over her face. Her eyes, cloudy with age, instantly filled with tears. "My goodness," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You look exactly like your mother the last time I saw her." Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He pulled up a chair, his own eyes pleading. "Please," he begged. "I need to know the truth. What happened to her?" Margaret reached out and took his hand, her grip surprisingly firm. "I tried to protect her," she said, her voice filled with a lifetime of regret. "I really did. But your ma, she trusted the wrong person." "The wrong person? Who?" Daniel leaned in closer, hanging on her every word. Margaret's voice dropped to a barely audible whisper. "It was someone inside your own family." The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. He felt his entire body go cold, a chill seeping deep into his bones. "His own family," Margaret continued, her voice shaking with the weight of the secret she'd carried for decades. "The night before she disappeared, your mother came to me. She was terrified. She confessed she was afraid of someone very close to her. She made me promise. She said if anything ever happened to her, she wanted you to know the truth one day." "Who?" Daniel asked, his voice cracking. "Who was she so scared of?" Margaret looked him straight in the eye, her gaze piercing. She whispered a single name, a name that shattered Daniel's world. A name he never, ever would have expected. "Your uncle, Robert." Robert, his kind, gentle uncle, who had been a pillar of support his whole life. It made no sense. Why would he harm his own sister? What could he possibly gain from her disappearance? Why would he keep a secret like that buried for 41 years, watching Daniel grow up with a gaping hole in his life? The questions swelled in Daniel's mind, a dizzying storm of confusion and betrayal. As if sensing his turmoil, Margaret gave Daniel one final thing. From a small locked box beside her bed, she retrieved a folded, yellowed piece of paper. She unfolded it with trembling hands. It was a note written in his mother's familiar, elegant script. "If my son is reading this," it began, "it means I failed to escape." "Failed to escape what?" Escape from whom? And the biggest question of all still remained, hanging heavy in the air. Where was she now? After all these years, could she possibly still be alive? The note was a key, but it only opened a door to more questions, pulling Daniel deeper into a family conspiracy he was just beginning to unravel. The full truth, and a reunion he never thought possible, lay just ahead, waiting to be discovered. The story is far from over. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. You won't believe where this leads. Daniel finally discovered why his mother ran. But what he didn't know was that she was still alive. For years, Daniel had been haunted by questions, shadows of a past he couldn't grasp. His mother, gone. His father, a void. His uncle, Robert, the silent keeper of secrets. But the silence was about to break. Daniel returned to his uncle's house, not as a nephew seeking comfort, but as a man demanding truth. He wasn't asking anymore. He wanted answers. Real answers. At first, Robert was a fortress, his face etched with the same stoic lines Daniel had seen his whole life. He refused to speak, turning away, his shoulders slumped with the weight of a burden carried for too long. But Daniel had come prepared. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a faded, crinkled note. A note his mother, Margaret, had saved. A relic from a life he never knew. As Robert's eyes fell upon the familiar handwriting, the fortress crumbled. The stoic mask shattered, and decades of pent-up grief and guilt came pouring out. It broke down his sobs, echoing the years of silence, and finally, he confessed. The story began 41 years ago. It was a story of fear, of desperation. Daniel's mother wasn't a woman who abandoned her child. She was a woman trying to escape an abusive marriage. His father, the man Daniel had only known through whispers and warnings, was violent, controlling, and dangerous. Margaret knew she had to get out, not just for herself, but for her son. She planned her escape meticulously. Robert, her loyal brother, was her only ally. His role was simple but critical. Hide Daniel, keep him safe, no matter what. But plans made in desperation often go awry. His father, fueled by rage and a possessive grip, found her before she could disappear completely. A terrible confrontation ensued. The details were a blur of violence and terror that Robert had tried to bury for 41 years. He arrived at the scene, but he was too late to stop the fight. He saw the aftermath, the fear in his sister's eyes, the certainty that she had to run and never look back. And this is where the secret, the one that had poisoned their family for decades, took root. Robert let everyone believe that Margaret was gone, that she had perished. It was a lie born from a desperate need to protect. But the truth was far more complicated. Daniel's mother wasn't dead. She had escaped, injured, terrified, but alive. She had been taken into a women's protection program, a system designed to give victims of abuse a new life, a new identity, a chance at safety. But that safety came at an unimaginable price. To protect herself and her son from a man who would never stop looking, she was forbidden to contact anyone from her past. Not her brother, and most painfully, not her son, Daniel. The decision shattered her heart into a million pieces. Every single day was a battle against the instinct to run back, to hold her child. But she knew that staying away was the only way to keep him alive. She chose his life over her own happiness, a sacrifice that no one knew she had made. Back in Robert's living room, the air grew thick and heavy. Daniel felt like he couldn't breathe. The world he knew, built on a foundation of loss and abandonment, was tilting on its axis. His mother wasn't a ghost. She wasn't a tragic memory. She was alive. Somewhere out there, she was breathing the same air, living under the same sun. After 41 years of believing he was an orphan, the possibility was too much to comprehend. With trembling hands, Robert reached into a locked drawer and pulled out an old envelope. He handed it to Daniel. Inside was a single piece of paper with an address. A place in Virginia, a quiet, small town, the kind of place where someone could disappear, where someone could start over. It was where Daniel's mother had been living all this time, under a new identity, a ghost in her own life. Daniel didn't hesitate. He left his uncle's house, the confession still ringing in his ears, and began the journey. Every mile on the road felt like a lifetime. The scenery blurred past the car window, but all Daniel could see were images of his mother, the faded Polaroid, his only guide. Every step he took toward that address in Virginia felt heavier than the last. 41 years of pain, of unanswered questions, of a profound and hollow loneliness. It was all about to end. Or perhaps it was about to begin again. He found the house, a modest home on a quiet street. It looked peaceful, normal. So normal, it was terrifying. He walked up the path, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He raised his hand, his knuckles hovering just inches from the wood, preparing to knock, to shatter a life of silence. But he never got the chance. The door opened first. A woman stood there. She was older, her face lined with the passage of time, her body more fragile than the woman in the photograph. But her eyes, they were the same. Tsamé Keen's sad eyes from the Polaroid he had cherished his entire life. And in an instant, those eyes recognized him. Time collapsed. 41 years vanished. A lifetime of questions answered without a single word. She whispered his name, a breath of disbelief and hope. Daniel. He couldn't speak. The name, spoken in her voice, was a sound he'd only ever dreamed of hearing. The strength that had carried him this far evaporated. He collapsed into her arms, all the years of forced adulthood melting away, and he cried. He cried like the small child who had lost his mother, like the man who had just found her. 41 years of distance disappeared in the space of a single embrace. A mother's touch he had never forgotten. A son she had never, ever stopped loving. Later, as they sat together, hands clasped, filling the decades of silence, she said one thing that would break millions of hearts. She looked at him, her eyes filled with tears, and said, "I counted every birthday, every single one, waiting for the day you'd be old enough and brave enough to find me." Daniel, his voice thick with emotion, asked the one question that still lingered. Why? Why did she never come back for him? She gently placed his hand on hers, her touch both a comfort and an explanation. Because staying away from you was the only thing that kept you alive. Your father, he would have found you. He would have hurt you. But I prayed every single day. I prayed you would look for me when you were safe, and you did. They hugged again, a long, healing embrace. The broken pieces of their lives, scattered by time and fear, were finally coming back together. And for the first time in 41 years, in that small, quiet house in Virginia, a mother and her son both felt complete. The truth was revealed. The pain had ended. A family, torn apart by violence, was finally restored by love. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more incredible true stories. We'll see you in the next video.